She walks among everyone, yet seems to come from another time. While the world rushes to show off, she chooses silence. Where so many seek approval, she finds direction within. The Sigma woman doesn't go with the flow. She observes, evaluates, and chooses with rare discernment. This stance, marked by self-confidence and authenticity, is not just a trend. It's a philosophy of life with deep roots in Stoicism. We live in an age of excess. Too much noise, too much judgment, too much haste, too many expectations. And in this chaotic landscape, being a calm, centered, independent, and resilient woman almost feels like a provocation. But this provocation has a purpose: to remind us that it is possible to live with wisdom and purpose, even when the whole world tries to dictate otherwise. In this text, we'll delve into the attitudes that shape the Sigma woman, and why her presence is so enigmatic and powerful. Prepare to recognize traits you might never have named, and discover how to embody them with more intention. A word of warning: this isn't about following rules, it's about breaking free from them. Defend yourself wisely. Some confuse firmness with aggression, but the Sigma woman knows that wisdom doesn't shout, it asserts itself calmly. When someone tries to push her limits, she doesn't engage in conflict to defeat them, but rather to remain true to herself. With self-confidence and discernment, she responds with well-chosen words, not impulsive reactions. A simple "that doesn't work for me" can be more powerful than 1,000 excuses. She understands that defending oneself isn't attacking, it's positioning oneself clearly. And it's precisely this calmness that disconcerts those expecting drama. Her strength comes from inner guidance, not from the need to prove herself. When criticized, she listens to what makes sense and ignores the rest, without needing the final word. This is virtue, knowing that not every battle needs to be fought. Instead of getting carried away by the heat of the moment, she takes a deep breath, observes, and decides wisely. It's not that she doesn't feel, it's that she chooses what to do with what she feels. For those accustomed to explosive reactions, this calm seems almost mysterious. But she doesn't seek to be understood, only to be true to her own integrity. If you want to start practicing this posture, try something simple. Before responding to something that bothers you, count to 5 for real. Use this time to ask yourself, does this really matter to me? Or will this response bring me closer to or further from my peace? Developing this kind of self-awareness requires practice, but it's liberating. It also helps to keep a reflective journal or read books like The Courage to Be Imperfect by Brené Brown, which shows how vulnerability and strength go hand in hand. Remember, standing up for yourself wisely is a form of self-empathy. Speak directly. The Sigma woman doesn't like to beat around the bush. She speaks clearly, without beating around the bush, but without losing empathy. She knows that honesty is a virtue that builds bridges, not walls, and so she avoids half-words that only confuse. When communicating her ideas, she strikes the perfect balance between firmness and kindness, ensuring her message is heard and respected. This direct yet welcoming manner reflects her self-confidence and the respect she has for herself and others. It's not about being harsh, but about being truthful, and that transforms any conversation. In practice, this means avoiding saying what we think the other person wants to hear and going beyond the superficial. If you have something important to say, even if it causes discomfort, do so with empathy and clarity. For example, at work, instead of giving vague answers, explain your point with real facts and feelings. Books like Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg can be great allies in developing this style of dialogue that leaves no room for misunderstandings, but without losing the human connection. Speaking directly is an act of respect towards yourself and the other person. However, speaking this way also requires a lot of listening and discernment. After all, not every truth needs to be said immediately or in the most blunt way. The Sigma woman knows how to choose the right moment and adjust her form so that her words have an impact without alienating anyone. This is part of her wisdom, understanding that words, like silence, are powerful tools that must be handled with care. To get there, start by observing your daily conversations. Where do you beat around the bush? Where could you be clearer? And most importantly, when is it worth holding your tongue? Adapts easily. The Sigma woman understands that life is always changing. And, instead of resisting, she embraces transformations with emotional balance. This resilience stems from a firm self-confidence that doesn't waver at every change. She knows she can't control everything, but she can choose her reaction to the unexpected. Therefore, when change arises, she doesn't panic or cling to what's left behind. Instead, she seeks to learn and grow from the situation, using her discernment to focus on what truly matters. This flexibility doesn't make her fickle, but rather wise. In everyday life, adapting easily is a skill that can be trained. For example, if a project at work changes course, instead of complaining, try to understand the new scenario and what you can do to contribute. Take a deep breath, reorganize your priorities, and stay calm, remembering that your inner guidance is your most reliable compass. Simple practices like meditation or mindfulness exercises help strengthen this calm and focus, making transitions smoother. It's like a muscle. The more you exercise resilience, the stronger it becomes. And the most interesting thing is that this balanced attitude is contagious to those around her. When the Sigma woman maintains composure in the face of chaos, she inspires trust and respect. Not because she wants to control, but because she leads by example. This is one of the most valuable virtues anyone can possess. Accepting change wisely frees oneself from the prison of fear and insecurity, making room for true emotional independence. Ultimately, adapting is more than a strategy. It's an art that brings tranquility to the soul. Natural leadership. The Sigma woman doesn't seek to be a boss or boss anyone around, but her natural leadership shines through the example she sets every day. With integrity and respect, she inspires without resorting to empty words or imposed authority. Her strength lies in her authenticity, in the way she acts in alignment with her values and remains calm even when everything seems to be falling apart. This generates genuine trust in those around her, as it's impossible to fake virtue. She knows that leadership isn't about controlling, but guiding with wisdom and empathy, valuing each person's contribution. One of the secrets of this leadership style is self-awareness. Before attempting to influence others, the Sigma woman invests time in understanding her own motivations, fears, and strengths. This clear inner direction prevents impulsive decisions and strengthens her discernment. Therefore, her words carry weight. They're not something spoken in the heat of the moment, but the fruit of reflection and experience. Want to start developing this type of leadership? Start by observing the small gestures of integrity and respect you can practice today, whether at work, at home, or with friends. Furthermore, this natural leadership manifests itself in listening more than speaking, recognizing the value of each person. She knows she doesn't need to be the center of attention to exert influence, and this is a powerful differentiator. Drawing inspiration from figures like Nelson Mandela or Malala Yousafzai, who led by example and values, can help you better understand this approach. By cultivating this quiet strength, you create an environment where collaboration and growth flourish, without effort, without unnecessary competition, just virtue in action. Mysterious by nature, the Sigma woman doesn't feel the need to expose herself completely. Her mysteriousness stems from respect for her own essence. She knows that not everything needs to be shared to be understood, and that keeping a little to herself creates an aura of depth that effortlessly attracts. This reserve isn't a sign of distance, but of authenticity. She chooses what to reveal wisely, keeping her composure intact. After all, there's immense beauty in being a book with pages that only a few have the privilege of leafing through. Remaining mysterious also helps preserve emotional independence. When she doesn't give in to the urge to share everything, she protects her energy and avoids unnecessary judgment. This behavior is a form of self-confidence and discernment, because she understands that not everyone is prepared to see beyond the surface. For those who like to weigh in on everything, this silent attitude can seem enigmatic, and that's precisely why she's so rare and admired. If you want to practice this quality, start slowly by choosing what you share on social media or even in casual conversations. Ask yourself, does this help me or drain me? By protecting yourself in this way, you create space for wisdom to flourish and for your inner direction to guide your actions. Books like The Power of Silence by Eckhart Tolle can be great allies in understanding the value of preserving this aura. In the end, mystery is not absence, but presence with clear and virtuous boundaries. Disapproves of gossip. The Sigma woman knows that gossip is a trap that drains energy and hinders personal growth. She disapproves of this type of conversation because she understands that, instead of building, gossip destroys reputations and harms relationships. With self-confidence and discernment, she chooses to focus on what really matters, her evolution and inner peace. When someone tries to pull her toward the negative, she changes the subject or simply walks away, without needing to explain. This firm yet calm stance shows that virtue lies in choosing battles worth fighting. This attitude goes beyond simply avoiding gossip. It's an active practice of empathy. The Sigma woman understands that, often, those who speak ill of others are seeking to fill internal voids. By not engaging, she avoids the cycle of judgment and criticism, contributing to a healthier environment around her. A good exercise to cultivate this attitude is to practice silence when negative conversation arises, replacing comments with constructive questions or changes of focus. This demonstrates not only emotional intelligence but also wisdom. To apply this virtue in your daily life, start by identifying which environments and people tend to foster gossip. You don't have to cut ties, but learn to protect your energy by changing the tone of the conversation or avoiding getting bogged down in unproductive discussions. Books like Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman help us understand how to maintain empathy without losing our inner direction. Remember, disapproving of gossip doesn't mean closing yourself off from the world, but preserving your authenticity and integrity. Independent and self-sufficient. Being independent and self-sufficient is one of the pillars of the Sigma woman, who doesn't depend on others' approval to validate her worth. She cultivates her emotional and intellectual autonomy with discipline and wisdom, knowing that true freedom comes from within. This stance doesn't mean closing herself off from others, but rather maintaining a firm inner direction without getting lost in external opinions. By valuing her self-sufficiency, she builds a solid foundation of self-confidence that keeps her calm even in the face of worldly pressures. In practice, cultivating this independence can start with small steps, like deciding for yourself what's best for you, without seeking constant validation. This can range from choosing your own goals to learning to solve problems without always relying on someone else. Reading books that talk about empowerment, such as Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, helps reinforce this confidence. Over time, this emotional independence translates into a tranquility few can maintain, as the Sigma woman knows she doesn't need to be perfect to be complete. Furthermore, self-sufficiency allows her to relate to others more healthily, without carrying the burden of need or neediness. She chooses to be with those who add to her, not those who demand constant approval. This virtue creates a virtuous circle of mutual respect, where each person is responsible for their own happiness. The Sigma woman inspires precisely because of this inner strength that doesn't demand it, but asserts itself with serenity. And this is, without a doubt, a rare and precious trait. Don't judge others. The Sigma woman knows that each person carries their own baggage, with pain and learning that isn't always visible. Therefore, she avoids hasty judgment, acting with empathy and understanding. This approach stems from a deep wisdom that recognizes that no one walks the same path and that everyone has their own time to grow. By not judging, she maintains her peace of mind and avoids the emotional drain that comes from a critical eye. This strengthens her inner direction and promotes harmony around her. Practicing non-judgment may seem simple, but it requires conscious effort. Start by noticing when the urge to criticize someone arises and, instead, try to look at the situation with curiosity, asking yourself, what might this person be going through? Or what challenges do they face? This shift in perspective fosters empathy and helps build more genuine and respectful relationships. Books like The Art of Loving by Eric Fromm show how acceptance of others is one of the greatest demonstrations of wisdom and virtue. By adopting this stance, the Sigma woman creates a safe space for herself and others, where personal growth isn't hindered by fear of judgment. She understands that being empathetic doesn't mean agreeing with everything, but rather recognizing the other person's right to be who they are. This balance between firmness and understanding is what makes her presence so calm and powerful. After all, knowing how to listen and accept without criticizing is one of the greatest acts of self-confidence anyone can practice. Strong in the face of adversity. The Sigma woman faces adversity with a calm that comes from deep self-confidence. She neither denies challenges nor allows them to overwhelm her, but sees them as valuable opportunities to grow and mature. This resilience doesn't arise by chance, but from the constant practice of maintaining calm even when the world seems to be falling apart. Strength in the face of chaos comes from a firm inner direction and the discernment to separate what can be controlled from what must be let go. In practice, facing difficulties with serenity requires daily exercises in self-awareness and self-compassion. For example, keeping a journal where you record your feelings and reflections helps you better understand your emotions and strengthen your self-confidence. Books like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius offer timeless lessons on the virtue of accepting what we cannot change, teaching that true strength lies in how we react, not in what happens. By applying these principles, you create an invisible shield that protects your inner peace. Furthermore, this fortitude in the face of adversity inspires those around her, without her having to force anything. Her attitude conveys a powerful message. No matter how difficult the path, it is possible to walk with serenity and authenticity. This attitude doesn't eliminate difficulties, but it changes how they impact life. And this transformation is undoubtedly one of the greatest legacies of the Sigma woman. A true leader who leads by example, even in the darkest moments. The Sigma woman faces adversity with a calm that comes from deep self-confidence. She neither denies challenges nor allows them to overwhelm her, but sees them as valuable opportunities to grow and mature. This resilience doesn't arise by chance, but from the constant practice of maintaining calm even when the world seems to be falling apart. Strength in the face of chaos comes from a firm inner direction and the discernment to separate what can be controlled from what must be let go. In practice, facing difficulties with serenity requires daily exercises in self-awareness and self-compassion. For example, keeping a journal where you record your feelings and reflections helps you better understand your emotions and strengthen your self-confidence. Books like Meditations by Marcus Aurelius offer timeless lessons on the virtue of accepting what we cannot change, teaching that true strength lies in how we react, not in what happens. By applying these principles, you create an invisible shield that protects your inner peace. Furthermore, this fortitude in the face of adversity inspires those around her, without her having to force anything. Her attitude conveys a powerful message. No matter how difficult the path, it is possible to walk with serenity and authenticity. This attitude doesn't eliminate difficulties, but it changes how they impact life. And this transformation is undoubtedly one of the greatest legacies of the Sigma woman. A true leader who leads by example, even in the darkest moments. We've reached the end of this journey through the Sigma woman's philosophy, but have you ever stopped to think about how to apply all of this to your life? Are you ready to advocate wisely, speak directly, and adapt easily even when everything changes? The Sigma woman invites you to reflect. How can you lead by example, maintain your authenticity without sacrificing empathy, and preserve your peace in the face of adversity? These are powerful questions that, when answered truthfully, can transform your path. Real change begins with small steps, and it's up to you to decide where to begin. How about practicing a little more self-awareness today? Or trying to change the way you communicate, striving to be clearer and more direct? How about cultivating calm amidst the chaos? Imagine what your life would be like if you embodied these virtues, gaining self-confidence, independence, and resilience. The beauty of it all is that transformation is a process, not a final destination. If this content resonated with you, why not continue this conversation? Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay tuned for more reflections and tools to strengthen your inner direction and live authentically. Let's explore this universe of wisdom and growth together. After all, the Sigma woman is rare, but her power can be found in each of us, including you.